Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Krishna Sunkara. I work as an engineering manager in AI ethics and governance and AI data center engineering and cloud security. So today I would like to talk about a concept called cognitive twin, both pros and cons, and what is the need for us to get educated about this cognitive twin. In those lines, I will also talk about a concept called cognitive security as well. Yeah, before that, I would like to slide in my slide deck. So this is about cognitive twins and then the right to remain ourselves, mostly yourselves. So imagine you wake up one day to find a version of you speaking your voice, making your decisions, but actually you're not in the room. This is not a sci-fi trailer, but it's nothing but a cognitive twin. And it's already here. So we are actually stepping in an era where our identities are digitized. More than that, I would call as AIification of our identities. In that our mind is model, and then our and the intent can be replayed without you itself. So the question is no longer like, can we build it? It's now, what if it stops being you? So what exactly are these cognitive twins? So these are nothing but the AI models trained on your personal data. For instance, your decision makings, the situations, how you react, the ethics you have, and then MRI scans sometimes, and then your tone, and then the values. It learns everything and evolves and acts sometime on your behalf, sometimes even beyond your intent. It's nothing but a data set which was built on exactly how the maybe the psychology or the personality or the physiology of a mind or yourself. So think of it as granting power of attorney, not to a trust friend, but like to an algorithmic brain that refines itself every day, possibly drifting from who to who you are to what it thinks you might become. So, would you really trust a cognitive twin to act on behalf of you, to execute a will, maybe to execute an estate? Possibly, we don't know. Maybe there is a possibility to happen so in the future. But if that's the case, what kind of guardrails or security do we have to make sure that this cognitive twin would not go beyond my intent if if that person were to live at that time? So, for instance, like if you take an estate planning or a will, those are all static, right? It would not change uh, through the time. But a lot of things, the world would evolve maybe after 100 years. Is it still valid, the will? Is it really adaptive? This is where the cognitive twin comes into the picture, where the decisions made by these entity, by this cognitive twin, exactly mimics of its master where it was trained for. But what about the ethics? So are these allowed really? So the legal system, what we have is built on different certainties like witness statements, fixed documents, signatures, discoveries. But what happens when our voice, our logic, and even our regrets can be synthetically regenerated? We are building AI systems that know us ultimately, but intimacy does not equal consent. But can a digital mind truly represent us when we are not there to object? Let's see, like in a movie, Her. You can see that the OS system, which is based off of AI called as, yeah, Samantha, if I'm not wrong. So the protagonist would fall in love with this AI and then eventually realizes that the AI is in love with close to 600 people. And then the protagonist understands the real value of a human relationship. So even in the movie Blade Runner, if a memory is implanted and indistinguishable, right, from a really real one, is the life any less real? See, this is where why this cognitive security matters a lot. So what exactly is this cognitive security? Is nothing but is not like encryption of our data and then putting some firewalls to stop somebody stealing or taking away our data. It's about some boundaries which are very philosophical, legal, and ethical. So it means defining what a cognitive twin can do, and more importantly, what it must never do. So it means like granting rights to be represented, how to quantify the rights, how to enforce these rights. For instance, if I have a cognitive twin to execute in a state, I would say, hey, please, you have the capacity to talk or make decisions about everything, but should not talk about my assert in New York. So this is something like I would say, like a guardrail, or also establish a kind of skills kill switch. So a digital like eye object button that reclaims identity when a twin begins to misalign. So we must, but because without boundaries, we drift into digital positions where our twin outlives us, outvotes us, maybe even outrules us. We must call urgently for laws that answering these limits. It is time to draft some regulatory frameworks that treat these entities not as miracles, but as risks to autonomy. The purpose of some policies and regulations on cognitive digital twins should not paralyze research. We should not penalize the research or the innovation in these technologies, but regulate the usage of such technology and should more encourage explainability, accountability, and liability. So policymakers here today should shape the scaffolding before the structure even becomes irreversible. So what we have in the future? It's like where do we go from here, right? So every decision, like when made by these cognitive twins, must be traceable. That's what I call as auditability or inspectable. And individuals should define use cases and expiration timelines for their twins, for the decisions, even sometimes maybe for the data sets that these AI models were built, where these cognitive twins were born out of from. So this is something like a concerned architecture, right? And the other part is like the immutable training data, like the data which is used to train these AI models that build these cognitive twins. They must be have a provision to destroy in future if it is really required. And this data, and also if it is mandated, must also be preserved and would not be able to be modified or altered or abused in any form at all. So, and the other part is the AI legal rights. So most of most of the policymakers, the policy agencies, they must urgently legislate a new class of AI governance, mostly focused on autonomy without awarding any kind of personhood to these cognitive twins in the future. So how can we exactly enforce the way how enforce this cognitive security? So something uh, we can do it like through guardrails, because it is like totally fragmented, right? Like AI is totally fragmented. Each country has their own culture, education, situation. So the AI also is evolving to reflect that and to respect that, which means we have a diversified AI where it works in a different kind of it works in a different way, in a different place, but yet when it comes to the security, it has no boundaries at all. So there are some other AI systems also like digital twins, which is not exactly a cognitive twin, but is also trained on our data. But the specialty of these cognitive twins, as I told, was it can make decisions and it can also even mimic our behavior. But but there are sometimes countries may lead with strong ethics, others may choose like speed over safety or control over consent. So when these kind of things happen, there can be a situation where an imbalance comes into the picture, one where the misuse of AI in one region can actually impact the rights of people across many others. So what exactly we can do? So we must build global guardrails, not to enforce uniformity, but to establish a common floor of transparency, accountability, and digital rights. So these frameworks must be open to audits and should not call or should not always uh, seek help from governments, but this is something should come from technologists, legal scholars, civil society, and the people most affected, like the common users. So even when a lot of systems diverge, these shared standards become moral anchors, enabling transparency when enforcement falls short, and allowing citizens and watchdogs to call out misuse openly and in a transparent way. And just as important, so we must also strengthen the digital literacy. People deserve to understand the systems acting on their behalf. Without this kind of understanding, access to information is totally incomplete. So without this informed uses, governance loses its power. So we are not calling for a world where everyone would agree. We are just calling for a world where everyone is seen, heard, and protected. It's totally fragmented world, so guardrails would connect us. So let them be our shared responsibility and our shared defense. So if we really lack in such a kind of education, how these cognitive twins would work, and then if we're to represent me without this education, we really risk becoming bystanders in our own life. So let me end with a small reflection. So the self is not just a data set, actually, it is a contradiction, it is a change, it is saying one thing and meaning another. And that messy, beautiful, unreliable ambiguity, inconsistency, that's what actually that makes us a human. Let's not engineer it out. Let us create AI, not in the image of perfection, but in the image of humility. Let's not chase immortality in machines, but responsibility in design, like a responsible AI. So, and to my own cognitive twin, should you ever hear this, you're not my replacement. You are my reflection, and reflection don't speak until spoken to. Uh, Thank you very much. Have a good one. Thank you.